fire disaster in Chicago's history, one of the nation's worst ever, shocks the country. The tragedy struck a Catholic parochial school just 18 minutes before classes were to be dismissed for the day.
In 1958, 92 children and 3 teaching nuns died in a fire at Our Lady of the Angels School in Chicago. It was a fire that shocked the world. It led to a nationwide reform of fire safety in schools, but only in the light of the work of the human behavior experts can that afternoon's events be fully understood. Today, Matt Plovanich is a detective in the narcotics division of the Chicago Police. 40 years ago, he was sitting at his desk on the 2nd floor in Our Lady of the Angels School.
One of the girls at the front of the room spotted smoke in the hallway. My nun, Sister Mary Geraldita, immediately went to the door and opened that front door, revealing a hallway that was completely engulfed in heavy flames and heavy smoke.
Matt's teacher then went to the door at the rear of the class, an alternative means of escape.
They used to wear like a rosary belt with their keys on it, and I will never forget the look on her face when she discovered that the keys to the back door had been left at the convent by her that morning.
There was no way out for Matt and his 50 classmates. By the time the Chicago Fire Service arrived, the fire and smoke had already engulfed most of the school building. Richard Scheidt is a veteran of hundreds of fires, but this one is etched into his memory.
Uniquely, it was different than most fires because there was no noise. The people, must have been a couple hundred people on the street, relatives and people that had children in the building, and they were silent.
Trapped inside, Matt's teacher tried to keep the class calm by having them pray.
We were instructed to get on our knees and say the rosary, and from my point of view, that was what we were going to do. I did contemplate jumping, but I was instructed to do otherwise.
The fire had started in a waste bin, but for Chicago fireman and author David Cowan, one of the keys to understanding the tragedy lies in the behavior inspired by a strict religious environment.
Discipline was the rule. I think that had a contributing factor regarding what happened in the fire.
At the center of this ordered world were the nuns.
They maintained, strict discipline in those buildings, and they were feared to some extent. They were loved, but they were feared. And the kids knew not to get out of line. It was that kind of a building.
Rescue was at hand for Matt's class. The school caretaker and a priest crawled up the back stairs and unlocked the door at the rear of the class from the outside. Matt and his class survived, but 92 others were not so lucky.
All the firemen that were there had children of their own. And when you hold them in your arms, all children feel the same. They trust us, they look for us, and we had no control over it. We failed. We weren't able to do what we wanted to do. We wanted to save those children.
Matt Plovanich believes he owes his life in part to the fact that he obeyed his teacher. But the school's culture of obedience was a double-edged sword.
There was also evidence that this fire was discovered prior to 2:30, but the fire department wasn't notified until 2:42. 12 minutes, which may have been the difference between life and death for many of the victims.
The fire had first been spotted by one of the teachers. She went down to alert the Sister Superior.
There was a standing rule in the school which permitted only the Sister Superior to sound the fire alarm.
But when the teacher got to the office, there was no sign of the Sister Superior, so the bell wasn't sounded.
The teacher returned to her classroom, and she and her neighboring teacher decided that they would go ahead and evacuate their students and not wait for an alarm.
It was only after they had removed their own classes that the teacher returned to raise the alarm. It proved to be a deadly delay. At the time, the events of that day seemed beyond comprehension. But seen through the prism of 25 years of research by the human behavior investigators, what happened now makes sense. From the teacher's delay to Matt's unquestioning obedience, there is a pattern of behavior seen repeated in fires to this day.